Now to President Trump reacting to a new Supreme Court ruling that says migrants must be given more time to challenge deportation under the Alien Enemies Act. Trump responding on social media, embracing criticism of the court's 7-2 decision. And joining me now, we have Barrett Berger, former federal prosecutor at the Southern and Eastern Districts of New York. Barrett, welcome back to the broadcast on this Sunday. So the courts are all saying the administration can still deport people the normal way, do it under the Immigration and Nationality Act. So is this more of a public relations blow to Trump's mass deportation agenda?
It's more than just a public relations blow. It's really a substantive blow, because the entire approach that this administration has been taking to immigration is, let's get this done quickly. They've even said things like, if we do this the normal way by actually giving people due process, it's going to take far too long. We'll be litigating this for years, so that's not an appropriate approach. What you have now is courts really pushing back, including now the highest court of the land, saying, no, this whole due process thing, not optional. And even if it means that it's going to hinder the quickness of your policy of effectuating this immigration policy you've put in place, you still have to comply with due process. Everyone deserves their day in courts. The judicial process is still an important step in deporting people from this country.
So federal courts in Maryland and D.C., they are really turning up the pressure on the administration to return Kilmer Abrego Garcia from El Salvador. And the cases are testing whether federal judges, appeals courts, even the Supreme Court can prod the executive branch into doing what the law and Constitution requires. Which direction are you expecting the executive to go?
I mean, this has been an incredibly frustrating case for the public watching it, but also for the judges having to rule on this case. Right now, we've seen in the latest hearing, we have the judge expressing incredible frustration at the administration's use of this state secret privilege to keep the judge from knowing what's been happening in the case. So this is a privilege that administrations have used, not just in this case, but in many other cases for decades now. But it's something that's subject to judicial review. It's not just that they can say, oh, I can't produce documents, it's state secret. The court has a right to examine materials, to look to see if there's actually a justification for this privilege. So here you have the judge in Maryland saying, look, I can't get any information here. It's a black box. You've invoked this privilege. I need more information about it. Mm-hmm. So it's absolutely just, them stalling at every possible stage. At the same time, you have the president saying, I'm never going to bring this guy back. Absolutely not. So you have this tension between Justice Department lawyers trying to, walk this fine line between maybe we're violating the court's orders, including the Supreme Court's order, and at the same time, the president saying, orders be damned, we're never bringing this person back here.
Stunning. So during the birthright citizenship hearing, Justice Amy Coney Barrett confronted the Solicitor General on obeying court rulings. And he said DOJ, quote, generally respects those rulings, but not necessarily in every case, citing an example of when they appeal a decision. But Barrett, they are yet to comply with the Supreme Court decision on Kilmer Abrego Garcia. How do you interpret that response?
I mean, first of all, that is, and there's no other legal way to say it, that is a bananas thing to say. I mean, to say we generally comply with precedent. I mean, I worked in the Justice Department for many years. That was absolutely not our approach. Our approach was, if you have a circuit court that made a ruling, you followed that ruling. In fact, if you had a district court who made a ruling in your district, you followed that ruling. So to say that this is not categorical and they only do this generally, it is unlike anything that I ever experienced while working in the Justice Department. But what's interesting is you now have the Supreme Court actually drawing upon this experience with Kilmer Garcia and saying, look, you need to slow down your deportations, and due process is so important here because look what happened with this case. This is what happens when something is rushed, when people are not given due process. Mm-hmm. Sometimes, as your administration has admitted, mistakes happen and then we can't get them back. So they've actually drawn on this experience and said, this is why it's important. This is why we're sort of putting the brake on that in the other decision that was given on Friday.
Yeah, it's so interesting because we've been talking about this pretty nonstop for 2 months now. I mean, it's been a while. Let me ask you quickly before I let you go. The Washington Post, it is noting a pattern of the Trump administration targeting free speech, with the Secret Service questioning former FBI Director James Comey over that Instagram photo of seashells spelling out 8647. Do you see grounds for investigation and even more legal action here?
I mean, the Secret Service, it sounds like, is investigating, and they should investigate if they want to. I mean, that is their job, to investigate any potential threats. I feel quite confident saying there is no crime here. The statute that they would need to use requires, a much higher threshold than they would ever be able to prove, not to mention, far more insidious cases and really vile things that have happened in the past and that courts have found to be free speech or not even been investigated at all. So while I feel very confident in saying there is no crime here, it certainly was a questionable exercise in judgment in posting this in the first place. I think, he is held to a different standard because he was the former director of the FBI. Things that he posts come with a certain level of authority. So I think, while Joe Schmo could probably post that and maybe wouldn't raise any eyebrows, it's a different case when somebody who used to be in charge of the FBI posts something like that. So
again, worthy of questions and an investigation, perhaps, for sure. Okay, Berit Berger, good to see you. Thank you much.